Stay tuned as we will be going live soon. To sponsor a show or advertise, call or WhatsApp 0763 593 288. Melo Media. Melo Media. Melo Media. Stay tuned as we will be going live soon. To sponsor a show or advertise, call or WhatsApp 0763 593 288. Melo Media. Melo Media. Melo Media.
Hi, my name is Chileshe. I'm a development practitioner, and you're on Melo Media Live. We are beginning a series on a very topical issue, well-known seemingly to many, but one which is often very much misunderstood. We're going to be discussing the whole concept of entrepreneurship and how we can put it to good use in a country such as Zambia. We'll be looking at what it really is, and then going down to how we can identify it and how we can apply it in business and in various spheres of life. I would like you to stay tuned with me, because in this very first broadcast, we're going to go into what entrepreneurship is. And I know, like many other concepts that are very popular, it is often that information goes out there seemingly accurate, but then on reflection, you discover that what may have gone ahead may not necessarily be what a phenomenon really is. So you have many people out there, some having even formally studied, having actually misunderstood a very important developmental concept. And in a country like Zambia, where we've been talking about entrepreneurship for a good part of the last 20 years, we have struggled to put it to good use. We have struggled to transform our society so that we can be people that are entrepreneur in such a way that we could see clear and tangible outcomes. So in this very first broadcast, we're going to just go down to what entrepreneurship is. And I challenge you to stay with me, because by the end of this broadcast, I would like to get feedback from you just to understand whether this is what you understood about entrepreneurship, or it could actually be something very different. And I suspect there'll be significant difference. You obviously have come across the term entrepreneurship. You may have read about it. You may have listened to people speak. You may have formally even studied it. What do people say entrepreneurship is? I know that a lot has been said. And for instance, we hear some people saying entrepreneurship is about starting a business. Okay, we hear that. Others will go further and say it is about running a business in such a way that you make lots of money. Or, it is about going into business in the face of risk. Some have narrowed entrepreneurship to involve technology, in the ICT and so on, some kind of innovation in that space. We've also heard many say entrepreneurship is really a fourth factor of production, land, labor, capital are the first three, and then we have entrepreneurship or enterprise, as some would call it, as the fourth factor. What do you say entrepreneurship is? How have you understood it? I would like you to think about it. If a young 17-year-old or maybe even 13-year-old person approached you and say, what do you understand entrepreneurship is? How would you explain it? This is important because it is from our understanding of entrepreneurship that we learn to work with this concept. And if we've not understood it very well, then we run a very high risk of picking up only parts of it, and so failing to get the kind of results that we would like to get, or which we know are possible, maybe from other parts of the world or from other people that we know. Part of the reason why certain societies are more entrepreneurial than others is because of their understanding of this concept. Part of the reason why some individuals are more entrepreneurial than others is because of how they have understood this concept. An important starting point is understanding, because it is from this that we can then move to application, to using the concept to create the kind of difference that we would like to see. So this broadcast is crucial in this series that we're going to do on the whole concept of entrepreneurship. I would like to take you a little bit back into history so that we trace this concept, and it is from here that we're going to really understand this concept. And in the next 3 to 5 minutes, I put it to you that you are going to see something very different from what you have seen before. The term entrepreneurship can be traced back to 16th century, 15th to 16th century France. And it is a term that came to be used to refer to a kind of change that turns what seemed to be an impossible situation into something that just transformed the whole of society. For instance, there were parts of France that were difficult to pass through. So because of that, they created societies on one end and others, but with difficulty in terms of, connecting those two societies. And so you had these engineers that decided to take on the challenge of actually creating passageway through that space. And so they made roads and they made bridges. And before you knew it, after probably a number of years, people were able to move from one point to another. So, people could migrate to the other side. A trade could happen between the two societies, and everything completely changed, as you would imagine. And so the civil engineers that took on this challenge were referred to as entrepreneurs. Of course, the word in French will sound differently, but they were referred to as such. The term entrepreneur was also used to refer to military expeditions that would change the landscape in terms of maybe the geopolitics of that time. Okay, so now, whether you're referring to the civil engineers or to the military expedition, what was referred to as entrepreneurship was this transformation that would happen, that would change reality from what it was to something different, and with a level of permanency. Things would never be the same again. And the individuals that engaged, that undertook these kinds of challenges were referred to as entrepreneurs. It's only later, when during the period of the Industrial Revolution, that we began to see certain transformative change in the way businesses were being done, that the term entrepreneur was now being used to refer to a person that undertakes a business venture, but in such a way as to create transformation, to create a certain permanent change, an enhancement of reality. Only these individuals were referred to as entrepreneurs. So whether we're talking about the engineers, we're talking about the military expeditions, or we're talking about the Industrial Revolution, the whole concept of entrepreneurship relates to the kind of transformation or transformative change that would happen. And so this would be referred to as entrepreneurship. Nothing else. So even as we begin to use this concept in business, and if we say entrepreneurship in business, we are not referring to business per se. Entrepreneurship is not about business. This is an important statement. And I hope this is the beginning of the kind of change that I'm hoping this series of episodes will bring about. Entrepreneurship has nothing to do with business. Entrepreneurship is a concept on its own, which can be applied to civil engineering, can be applied to military expeditions, can be applied to religion, can be applied to politics, but also can be applied to business. So when we use the term entrepreneurship, we are not referring to business. We are referring to a particular type of transformative change that occurs in that particular sphere, if it is business that we're talking about. We can also use that term entrepreneurship to refer to a particular type of transformative change that can happen in politics, in religion, in science, and in any other field for that matter. I hope you're with me here up to this point, because this is important. Entrepreneurship has nothing to do with business, but can be applied to business as much as it can be applied to any other sphere of life. If you have understood this, then you will understand that when we use entrepreneurship, we are anticipating some very specific things. Even when we apply it to business, there's a particular expectation. There's something we expect to see for that to be entrepreneurship, for business to be entrepreneurship, for anything else to be entrepreneurship, or to be entrepreneurial, if you like. Without those things being evident, then we cannot refer to what we are seeing or what we are doing as entrepreneurship. We cannot refer to the agents of entrepreneurship, the people that are engaging in those activities. We cannot refer to them as entrepreneurs if certain things are not clearly evident. Of course, we'll get into these specific things later in the next broadcast. But for today, I would like us to make sure we are together up to this point. So then, if we are to try and define what entrepreneurship is, the one thing that you must now agree with me is that we must not mention business in the definition. I mean, you Google entrepreneurship and you find that there are many definitions or supposed definitions that will have this reference to business in them. Can you imagine they are actually off? They're not really helping us understand what entrepreneurship is. Whatever you describe entrepreneurship to be, it must not specifically refer to business. It must refer to a particular phenomenon, a particular type of transformative change, and the characteristics of that can happen in business or elsewhere. Okay. So if we were to put forward some kind of explanation, definition, or description of entrepreneurship, I know some have referred to it as creative destruction. Because of its disruptive nature, entrepreneurship changes the landscape, changes what we know as reality, takes it to another level with a high degree of permanency. Things are never the same again. So whatever that sphere is, that kind of positive change that moves society upwards, a particular segment of society at the very least upwards to another level, that can be described as entrepreneurship. And so many will refer to entrepreneurship as creative destruction, because there's an element of being creative, coming up with a new way of doing things and disrupting the status quo and creating a new normal, if you like. Others have described entrepreneurship as the process of creating something different with value, because it has to be positive, by applying the necessary resources, whether it's time, it is money, it's effort, and including risk, because you're going a new direction. Okay, you're disrupting the status quo. You're trying to do something that probably has never been done before. So there's this element of risk, and in the end, obtaining desired or positive outcomes. So this process of creating something different by devoting resources to produce desired outcomes or to produce positive outcomes. Now, if you notice, I have not gone into mentioning anything to do with business, because at this point, as we are trying to understand what entrepreneurship is, We are not applying it to business to any other sphere. So that once we've understood it, we can apply it to business, but we must be able to apply it to other areas of society. For entrepreneurship in business to work, there must be entrepreneurship in other spheres of society, because business is connected to other spheres of society. We'll discuss this a little more, but I just wanted to mention it at this point. An interesting definition by Adrian Mui is that entrepreneurship is enhancing reality. Enhancing reality. I like the way he captures this whole concept of entrepreneurship without going into any detail. Enhancing reality. Okay? Causing reality to move from one level to the next. Of course, there's a lot that happens underground, and we'll be talking about that so that we can just have a handle of what entrepreneurship is. We can relate it to ourselves and we can relate it to others. We can develop it because we know what it is. But at this point, suffice to say that entrepreneurship is that transformative change, that enhancement of reality that can happen, okay, to move society from one level to a better place, irrespective of the sphere in which it is. And an important takeaway is that entrepreneurship has nothing to do with business. It is a standalone concept, a separate, independent concept that must be understood so that then it can be properly applied to business or to any other sphere of life. Let me stop here. I would appreciate some feedback if you've picked up one or two things, or as I've had in many cases, if you disagree with what I've said and so you'd like clarification, please use the numbers and the contact details provided. Let's discuss. See you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. To sponsor a show or advertise, call or WhatsApp 0763 593 288. Melo Media.